Steve, you're muted. Steve, you don't have any sound. Steve, you're on mute. Steve, you're on mute. Steve, you're on mute. We
Okay,
can't hear you.
somewhat,
Okay, there.
okay. Somewhat there's just a technicality. Sorry. Hello everyone. This is Steve of runcationPH. With our growing cases of COVID-19 estimated less than 40,000, people are becoming worrisome, erratic, anxious, and have the feeling not to knowing what to do. That's why we are here to have an online platform, to have a venue where we can help our viewers to learn key insights, lessons, and possibly develop the individual to live life to the fullest. Let me call on my co-host, Benedict Ella of Ayala Long Leaders Alliance, Bicol United, Ayala BU. Pasok.
Our pandemic reality forces us to stretch our limits in confronting concerns that troubles us. That makes us deeply ponder for answers, introspect in ourselves. What can I do to move myself up? How can I help myself afloat in these troubled times? How can I generate the positivity amidst this chaotic negativity? These are the regular questions every Juan de la Cruz asks. Relevant questions that require contextual insights. That is why the last leg of our motivational series on raising our flag focuses on key insights and experiences on key learnings of our invited speakers for tonight. To all our viewers, Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, our watch parties in FB through Ayala Young Leaders page, Ayala Young Leaders Alliance Bicol United, Runcation PH, and the FB walls of our speakers. Mabuhay at magandang gabi Pilipinas. So here we go again, another night of learning, another night of sharing of experiences on how will we sustain our motivation, especially in these difficult times. So to start off, may I call on a good friend of mine, the Executive Director of the Aboitiz Foundation Incorporated, Ms. Soldi Gonzalvo, to share with us how is it to survive and how is it to sustain motivation, especially in these difficult times, particularly in her field. Take it away, Sol.
Hi, Ben, and hi to everyone who's here tonight. Let me just start my presentation with a short video about what we do in the Ramon Aboitiz Foundation Incorporated Center for Leaders. Please watch this video. Let me go to my slide. Yeah, I hope you can see my slide. All right, so good evening, everyone. And this is quite a task to be talking about motivation in 15 minutes, but because we support the Ayala Young leaders of Alliance of Bicol United and Runcation, we'll do our best to discuss this very, very tough topic, especially now during tough times. So I call this sharing, rediscovering motivation during tough times. And I start by asking who's in the room. Sino bang mga nandito from all over the Philippines? I hear there are a lot of you who are watching. And so if you could go to menti.com and enter the code 208142, or you can hover your phone over this QR code that I have flashed here. And it will bring you directly to the page, no? Let me check if are we there in menti.com? Okay ba tayo? So I'll switch very quickly to Menti. And let's see. If you could type in, are you student, teacher? Are you simply not working? No? Are you just at home? No? So who's in the room? And please type it in. And I also don't want to take too much of the time, no? So I'm conscious of the time. Let me just skip back, or maybe I'll go to the next slide. And the more interesting slide here for me is, sorry. Are we seeing answers? Okay, anyway, let me go back to my presentation. And maybe we can just go on ahead. No, mukhang may problems in accessing Menti. I had wanted to ask what superpowers you'd like to have, you know, because it's very much related to Menti. So talking about superpowers and motivation, let's go on ahead. I'd like to introduce very quickly myself. Please call me Sol Gonzalvo. I'm the Executive Director of the RAFI Center for Leaders at Cool Adventure Camp. And we're located in a small town called Balamban in Cebu. We're on that side of the Cebu Island that's facing Negros. No? So yes, I'm a strengths coach. I do organization development. I am a certified outdoor educator, a wilderness first responder. I'm completing my MBA. But most importantly, during this pandemic, these more important roles have been amplified. I am Mamu, so that's what my kids call me. I'm a mother, wife, and I am broadcasting from here at my house in Talamban in Cebu. I'm a playmate, teacher, cook, referee, and when things get interesting at home, ako po yung judge. So at any normal day, you will see that my kids are hovering around, no, like this picture. They're very much part of every webinar that I do. And so I bring all of this with me as I talk today about this very, very important topic called motivation. So within this few minutes, I have selected 3 truths about motivation and 4 needs of followers that I'd like to focus on as a discussion. First, truth about motivation. Motivation comes from within. And it's true, no? You cannot give what you do not have. And so it is very important that we are able to realize this at the onset. All right? And I have this interesting quote here that there is more to us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives, we will be unwilling to settle for less. And this is a quote by Kurt Han. And I strongly believe that if only we're able to see our strengths, what we do best, we probably will never accept or settle for anything lesser, no, than what we are strong in and than what we are good at. And of course, a little plug, I'm really also for women taking important roles in our organizations and our communities. And I believe that women have superpowers. Women are naturally nurturing. And this comes really from inside, from really the nature of women. I'm really all rooting for all the women out here in this webinar. Number two, and this is the second truth, motivation can be learned. Motivation can really come from so many sources, but one important source of motivation is ourselves and the people around us. So motivation can be very dependent on the environment that we put ourselves in. And because now is really challenging times, tough times, I'd like to share this little inspiring work that we always start with when we talk about motivation, when we talk about making sense out of this pandemic that we now have. So there's this article in the Harvard Business Review talking about what this entire exercise that we're going through as really a sense of grief. So this discomfort that we are feeling is grief. And the first stage of grief is denial. And then we move on to the other stages of grief. There's actually 5, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. But the good news is last year, the same authors of the 5 stages of grief, Kessler and Kubler-Ross, said that there's a 6th stage. May pang 6 na stage ang stages of grief. And that to me is very wonderful because the 6th stage is finding meaning. So when anything happens to us, the most important thing other than really accepting that this has happened is that we need to find meaning. We need to find the lessons that life is trying to let us accept and learn. And I close this second truth with this quote. No, we delight in the beauty of the butterfly, but rarely admit the changes it has gone through to achieve that. And always remember that there is nothing worthwhile in life that comes easy. And most of the time, things will not be easier, but we will get better at it. And that, I think, is the essence of personal motivation. The third truth, motivation is contagious. Nakakahawa ang motivation. And I really love this quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. No? All right. Next, what do our followers need from their leaders? Check ko lang ha. I think I'm monitoring also the Facebook. Parang hindi lumalabas yung presentation. Standby. Very quickly lang. I'll shift. Is that better? Malabas na ba?
Yes, all. Yep.
Parang nagsasalita. Sorry,
It's okay.
Medyo na-excite.
Yeah.
All right. So the second segment that we're talking, the first, I was talking about the 3 truths, no? Na what is it? Motivation really comes from within, and motivation can be learned. And third, motivation is contagious. I think that should be something that we should always keep in mind. But now I'd like to go into what do our followers need, no, from our leaders. So ngayon kasi where we're saying these are challenging times, but let's also focus on ano ba talaga ang kailangan ng mga tao that we serve, no? Especially for those who have leadership positions. And I know a lot of you are here with positions of responsibility. So let me go on ahead that there are 4. The first, and this is according to a Gallup survey conducted in between 2005 to 2006 to 10,000 respondents who were asked what was the most significant impression or contribution that their leaders had on them that made them feel, no, that they were valued by their leaders. So the first need of the follower is actually trust. And trust is very important because I believe it's really the foundation, no, of all of these leadership skills. Pag walang trust, parang ang hirap to move forward with our goals, with our vision, with our aspirations, especially now na it's really challenging times. So trust in the poll revealed that the chances of employees or team members being engaged at work when they do not trust their leaders are just 1 in 12. So kung 12 yan na walang tiwala sa kanilang leader, no, only 1 will really perform and be engaged. But the good news about this is that the chances of employees or team members being engaged at work when they trust their leader is more than 1 in 2. So parang almost perfect. Kung may tiwala yung member or yung empleyado dun sa kanilang boss, no? The ones who lead them, talagang they are all engaged, no? They will really, kumbaga, todo bigay yan to perform, especially even in times of crisis. So trust is really the foundation of all leadership. Next is compassion. Especially ngayon, they say no, that we are in the same storm, lahat tayo naghihirap, but we are not in the same boat. Unfortunately, marami sa atin na hindi as resilient as expected. Marami sa atin na yung normal is not the same as our normal. Medyo swerte pa tayo, we can go online, we can learn, we can join all of these webinars, no? We still have work, but really a lot don't have the same, are not in the same state. So compassion for leaders should always be a prerequisite, no, when we are dealing with people, especially in crisis or in challenging times. And compassion is equated with empathy. No? Sabi dito, compassion is really about organizations and team leaders who have a positive bias, meaning they always believe in the positive side of their employees, of the situation, because really employees simply do not want to follow negative people around. Sabi nga, di ba, ayaw natin ng mga negatron, no? So with compassion also comes listening, giving them a voice, being inclusive in the decision making. Third is stability. So stability daw is synonymous to support. Showing them, empowering them, our members, that they have a stake and that they can do something about the situation that we are in. Stability is also synonymous to strength. So pag strong ang leader, nakikita nilang hindi kaagad na sway when things are difficult, then they tend to really perform better. They are more motivated, no, pag ganyan ang leaders. Leaders also need to buffer their members from unnecessary change, no? Especially kung maraming mga unexpected, mga curveballs. And lastly, hope, no? Hope is our currency. Kung walang hope, wala. All of these things are not possible. So there's a quote here and I read, man can live about 40 days without food, about 3 days without water, about 8 minutes without air, but only for 1 second without hope. So ang ganda. Hope is really what makes all of these things possible. And I end my sharing with this wonderful quote on hope that I really, really, really love. No, ito yung favorite ko. Hope is like a road in the country. There was never a road, but when many people walk on it, the road comes to exist. So ang ganda, di ba? Wala talaga yung daan na yan. Pero pag maraming tumatahak sa daan na yan, they lilitaw ang daan, and that road is open. So that's it from me. Again, for these times of crisis, when we are in need of motivation, there are 4 hashtags here, Sana, that I'd like to plug. Choose to lead, choose to learn, follow us on Rafi Center for Leaders, and also like our page, no, at Cool Adventure Camp in Facebook. Back to you, Ben.
Thank you for that, Sol. And I think very significant key points that you have really mentioned on trust, compassion, stability, and hope. Sol, ano lang, very top of mind question lang. Remember that you do Cool Adventure Camps, and I think this is like one exciting camps that's being experienced all over the Philippines. Parang, how do you deal, like for example, like, when people go to the camp, they're like parang unmotivated. So something like they have less inspiration. Pero when they undergo and take part in Cool Adventure Camp, when they get out, their spirits are already filled. How do you do that? I mean, is there a magic in there that really you put out the spirit of these individuals to really on the highest level?
First, kasi siguro, I think we always start with self-awareness. And the beautiful thing about self-awareness is that you put the focus on what they already have. hindi absent ang motivation, hindi absent ang hope, ang self-confidence and belief in yourself. So what we do is really just bring that out. And how we bring that out is creating the environment that's conducive for them to succeed, to believe in themselves. And we use really powerful experiences like we do the challenge ropes course. So imagine you climb up a pole and then you jump off from it. Sino ba naman ang hindi magkakaroon ng confidence, no, that they conquered these dragons? We call them dragons actually. And how we do it is we process the experience. Hindi lang kasi they go there and then they actually go through the experience and that's it, no? They go home. But what happens is that after every experience, pinag-uusapan, no? How was it? What did they feel? Ano yung na-discover nila? And what is wonderful is that these things are really just drawn out from them. So we ask powerful questions. I think that is really what makes the difference in creating that experience that builds them for success. No, when they go on and they face the real life dragons, yung mga totoong dragons na talaga in their lives.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Sol. Sol, I want to relate this with what's happening right now, particularly in Cebu, because I believe that you're in ECQ, right? So,
yes.
Yeah. So, like, with this kind of pressure, I mean, like, the mental pressure, it really affects the mental health of the individual. So, can you give us, like, insights or suggestions, so to speak, that, kasi ang napansin na, parang nakikita nating trend is, we started this last March, and then right now, parang all of these some mental concerns are starting to come out. And people are always saying na parang, oh, kumusta ka? They're gonna say that they're okay, pero technically inside they're not. So, in line with you being a strength coach, so how could we still further, like, unleash the power within for us to survive? I mean, just to go through with this base that we're having right now.
Well, walang shortcut, Ben. I think first is really to acknowledge the reality na things are not okay. Things are not normal. Things are not the way they were before. And the first question is always, ano yung difference before and ngayon? No? We always ask that question. In fact, the first question we always ask when we do virtual trainings is, what do you miss the most pre-COVID? And lalabas yung mga answers like, sasabihin nila, they miss the travel, they miss being able to visit family, they miss eating out, they miss company, no, and being around people and being able to have that social interaction. So once that sense of acceptance and labeling of the experience happens, parang it lightens the experience now because we know na there is now this naming of that emotion, and we always say all emotions are valid, no? If you have anxiety, if you have fear, if you have doubts. In fact, some of our staff, no, hindi makatulog sa gabi, and all of these things, it manifests differently for different people. Some of them as simple as maybe hindi lang makatulog, but for some really talagang they become unproductive, they shut themselves out, no? So iba-iba. So we start by always asking them, ano yung nag-change, ano yung naging iba. And so from there, there is that acknowledgement. So diba, the 6 stages, there is now that acceptance na we may never go back to that previous normal. And so what are all these experiences now telling us? And that's why we always ask, no, na ano yung finding meaning natin? Ano yung what are the lessons here? And most importantly, as strengths coach, no, I always ask, what are all these things trying to tell me, no? And the next question is always, what do I have that I can use? And what am I already good at that maybe I can now pull out of my toolbox? Like maybe madaldal ako. So I just really need to start talking, no? Or like maybe magaling ako magluto. So you have people who have started baking, you have people who started having gardening, di ba? Nagti-TikTok. So ang daming coping strategies, and we celebrate all of these small wins. Small wins lang siya. And talking about Cebu, no, I mean, hindi kami proud na nagkaroon lang kami ng 15-day trial on GCQ and now we are back to ECQ, di ba? And not only that, we are the only city in the Philippines that's on ECQ. So it's
ECQ,
not
that's correct, yeah.
but I think what we learn from this is that we need to work better together, talagang iba-ibang agencies. We need to also protect ourselves. We are actually the frontliners. No? Kami ang frontliners. Tayo are the frontliners. We are the first line of defense. And we have somehow to take that control. No? Take that control sa buhay natin and do everything that we can within our control. Those that are not within our control, we help. We ask for help. And we help others. So siguro dyan tayo mag-start. And that's also the key message we've been telling those who have been attending our learning sessions.
Yeah, thank you for that, Sol. And I think the Filipino resilience still maintains and really spurs the spirit up. And there, I think we cannot really declare that the fight is over. I mean, we're all starting, but we're all in this together. And I think we also would like to say that it's okay not to be okay. I mean, it's not okay all the time. But again, what you have mentioned is really better for people to share, to express their feelings at the same time. And actually, tama yung sinabi mo. We realize that there are a lot of people who actually showcase different talents, particularly for this pandemic.
Marami na never knew chef. This existed before, di ba? Parang people never knew they could cook, they could bake. People did pick up that book na hindi na nila nabasa for a long time. All of these hobbies that they've totally forgotten, learned how to play the guitar. So that's really a beautiful way of bouncing back.
That's correct. So Sol, thank you for the meantime. We'll please stay there because we're gonna have an open forum. But again, we wish Cebu well. That I hope that we actually get out of the ECQ and sabay-sabay tayo lahat na get out of the new normal.
Thank you,
okay.
Ben. Yeah.
Yes.
See you later.
So, guys, for the next speaker is actually a diva in his own right. So, may we call on the racing diva, Mr. Fritzie Labastida, to talk us about and tour us around, like, what is story about motivation? Take it away, Fritzie.
Hi, Sir Benedek. Good evening po at good evening po sa lahat ng mga nanood ngayon from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. And para sa akin, yung motivation ko is I want to share it with you all my story. Yes. I've been in sports for almost 10 years and I'm start with 2009 as a simple runner. Actually, I'm into sports. Wala po talaga akong kahiligan na sports nang nagsimula ako. And since when I started running, I noticed myself na running is the best and easiest sports na talagang makakatulong talaga sa lahat ng mga tao kung gusto mo talaga magkaroon ng healthy lifestyle. So running is an easiest way. And doon ko nasimula nung nag-start ako by running myself around 3 kilometer. I'm started from 3 kilometer. And then after all, nag-level up na ako from 5, 10, 16 kilometer, 21, 42, 50, 65, and so on. So I have a lot. Ako nga pala si Fritz, the known as in running community as Fabulous Barefoot Diva. And for now, I am preparing with actually this pandemic kasi sobrang swak po talaga yung sports ko kasi we need to be healthy. Yes. Yun ang kailangan natin na magkaroon tayo ng healthy lifestyle. Lalo na ngayon is ang kalaban natin hindi siya nakikita. So ako, I'm very blessed na isa ako sa mga atleta or nandito ako sa sports na to, and I'm very happy na even though we are in pandemic ngayon, so nag-lockdown talaga buong Pilipinas, and then yung sa iba nga ngayon is mga GCQ pa and GCQ. So para sa akin, I'm very blessed na to share with you my journey in sports. I've been trying myself to inspire to all the Filipino that running is very important and it's easy. Walang masama kung tumakbo ka na kasi para naman to sa kalusugan mo eh. So you are in a good health kung if you want to run, simple lang po yung gagawin is you have to take care also with yourself. Ayun, Sir Benitez.
Fritz, yung
Yes.
like you were called the Barefoot Diva. Kwentuhan mo naman kami bakit naging barefoot. Saan to nagsimula? Bakit nakapaa ka lang?
Actually, sir, nung nagsimula kasi ako, and para malaman din ng buong Pilipinas na nagsimula po kasi ako maging barefoot when I'm trying to help with isang fundraising na Run for a Cause dito sa Manila, and it called Baby Shaila. And then nung time kasi na yon is I don't have a shoes kasi hindi ko siya mabili kasi more on if you want to have a shoes na mamahalin talaga, matibay, sobrang mahal siya. So I supposed to do a barefoot. So doon nagkaroon ako na parang panatag ng sarili ko na sobrang hirap maging barefoot, pero I'm trying my best na lalong-lalo na kasi 'di ba I'm in costume, so parang feeling ko nung una kasi yung impression ko sa sarili ko na parang hindi mo nakakaya kasi baka pagtatawanan ako, and then yung mga discrimination sa daan, sa paligid ko, pero I'm confident ako na ilaban ko to, and siguro naman wala namang siguro masama kasi running for me is a good for my health only, and to really inspire also to all the Filipino na tumakbo.
Yeah, yun nga yung na-mention mo. And I think, Fritz, what's very important doon sa nasabi mo din, na doon sa pagtakbo mo, napatunayan mo na you're really motivated to prove something to yourself. And I would assume na, Fritz, pakita mo naman sa amin itong mga medalyang nakasabit sa likuran mo, na ito yung mga, can you tell us like, anong mga takbo to at saan ka dito nahirapan sa mga tinakbo mong ito, doon sa mga medalyang nasa likod mo?
Actually, ito lang po yung iba sa mga medalya ko for the
okay.
bago mag-lockdown kasi may mga runs pa kasi ako from January to March. So ito na lang natira. Actually, yung ibang medals ko nasa bahay po talaga naka-display sa province ko in Southern Leyte. And ayun, na doon siya naka-display kasi gusto ko makita din ng mga tao at gusto ko rin talaga ma-inspire din yung sarili kong barangay or sarili kong town sa mga medalya na nakamit ko, and to motivate also to all the people na tumakbo na rin. Ayun. And ito pala, isa sa mga medal ko, ito yung bago by February 1st week, ito yung I am a guest with the run and Katuwe run. So ito yung medal ko for, I'm running this one, 16-kilometer barefoot. And this one is a half marathon in Clark, Pampanga, and 21 kilometer, and then barefoot din siya. And this one, I'm also a guest in Bulacan, half marathon din siya. And ayun, okay naman yung pag-guesting ko sa mga lahat ng mga fun runs dito sa Philippines. Yeah.
So, Fritz, give us dun sa mga gustong tumakbo, ano yung mabibigay mong advice at paano sila magsisimula? Kasi I believe that running is really it requires a science, it requires very disciplined motivation. So anong maibibigay mo, like paano sila magsisimula at paano sila magiging if they want to follow you being barefoot in running or doing really mga marathon, so where will they start? Can you give us like some tips?
For now kasi we're in a pandemic, and mostly I seen many yung mga baguhan ng mga runners, and even in our area here in Taguig, and sobrang nakikita ko lang talaga na parang nahihirapan sila, although they wear mask, kailangan natin mag-mask. So ang maisusuggest ko lang talaga is a simple way. By running kasi kailangan matatag ka sa sarili mo na kaya mo siyang tapusin, and yung paghinga lang talaga kasi medyo nahihirapan tayo kasi 'di ba may mask na ginagamit. So ang isa sa ituturo ko sa inyo kung to easiest way to run is yung pag kumuha ka ng hangin sa pag kukunin mo yung hangin is sa ilong, and then yung paglabas ng ng hangin is sa bibig para hindi ka mahirapan, and then para back to back lang siya. And then yun lang siguro ang maisa-suggest ko for the air procedure pag tumakbo. And then, being a barefoot kasi talaga is a very hard. So mahirap siya. Even though I'm running 42, 65 ultramarathon, or even though 50, and sobrang mahirap. So wag nyo na lang akong gayahin. And it's a part of me na I can entertain people around me. Ayun, yun na lang po.
Okay, thank you for that. Tapos we have a special question, Fritzie, about paano ka naman raw naghahanap ng attire mo for every run. So ano ba to? Parang kailangan ipapattern mo sa theme. So anong mga naging selection mo, particularly with the headdress that you're using?
Kasi ako is a very creative person and wala naman ako masyadong ginagawa kasi after my work and after my training sa bahay lang diretso. And bago yung race kasi for the past years, for the past months, bago mag-lockdown, I'm preparing my costume and I need to buy in the ukay-ukay for almost 10 pesos, 20 pesos, and siguro pinakamahal na siguro yung 50 pesos. Ayun. So masakit na sa akin yon yung sobrang 50 pesos na yon. Pero I need more creative. So ginawa ko siyang mas mabongga na pagdating sa takbuhan ko is most of the people around me parang nai-inspired sila na kahit ako nakapaa at naka-costume, nagawa ko pa rin, natapusin siya at yun.
So ano to, parang every race, may iba-iba talagang tema na may tema kang Yeah.
Sa mga races ko kasi talaga pinaghahandaan ko siya. Bumibili muna ako for the halimbawa may races ako next week ganon. Pinaghandaan ko na talaga yung mga costume and then sa team din iuugnay ko din yung kulay sa team ng event.
Very good. So Fritzie, thank you for sharing the journey that you have for running, and I think the key message na ibigay mo sa mga viewers is really more of kailangan andun yung disiplina, andun yung gusto mong gawin, at andun din yung I think on your end hinaluan mo ng creativity. Kaya naging mas lalo naging maganda at naging maganda ka. So Fritz, stay there and we will have an open forum later. So thank you very much for your sharing. And Fritz, isa lang, can you greet naman yung mga mga kababayan mo in Leyte para to keep on have this positive spirit amidst itong COVID crisis na meron tayo ngayon. Take it away, Fritz, for your greeting.
Yes, actually, I'm very blessed with, I'm into this sports. Lalo na ngayon is parang swak talaga siya sa natin. We are in the pandemic and COVID, and we need to have a healthy lifestyle. I would like to invite everyone, lalo-lalo sa province ko, in Southern Leyte, na takbo tayo and gawin natin ang maging healthy lifestyle. Ayun.
Okay, thank you for that, Fritz. So stay there and we'll have an open forum later. So our next speaker, definitely just one guy that everybody's actually talking about, particularly when we mention his name. And he has a very good story to tell. And he's popularly known as Rambo in the triathlon community. And he's actually a promising cyclist. And of course, a gold medalist in the 30th SEA Games in Subic, Zambales. So, ladies and gentlemen, we call on Leerams Chicano, popularly known as Rambo. Take it away, Rambo.
Hello po. Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat. Ayan. Ako po si John Leerams Chicano. Mas kilala bilang Rambo. Kasi medyo napapabarkada ako nung kabataan ko, tapos sabi ng daddy ko, kailangan matuto ka mag-bike para maging healthy ka. So, nag-start ako ng ganun lang, tapos nag-enjoy ako pa konti-konti nung nalaman ko kung paano mag-cycling, tapos may mga races din sila sinasalihan ng mga kaibigan ko. Tapos yun, nainganyo ako hanggang sa nag-upgrade ng bike, hanggang sa may tumulong sa akin na tao. Tapos, ayun, may nakakilala sa akin na coach ng triathlon, si Coach Melvin. Tapos, tinuruan niya ako mag-swim. Hindi ako marunong mag-swimming, puro biking lang. Doon talagang sa tingin ko hindi ko kakayanin kasi nalulunod ako doon sa 25-meter pool na pinagtitrainingan nila. So, nung nagtitraining kami, yung 25-meter pool, hindi ko siya kayang tawirin. Tapos, hanggang sa sinatsaga lang ako turuan ng coach ko. Hindi ko alam bang ano nakita niya, bakit ano. Pero, yun naman, nagpursige rin ako sa part ko, nagpursige ako para maging isang mabuting atleta at maging masunurin sa kanya. At yun, nagkaroon ako ng unang race ko ng triathlon, Asian Cup. Tapos sa elite category agad ako nilagay sa may junior elite. So it's a sprint distance triathlon, 750 meter swim, 20-kilometer bike, saka 5-kilometer run. So, nung nag-start na kami sa swimming, naiwan agad ako. Tapos, kasi 5 minutes yung go namin mga men's, tapos 5 minutes yung women's. Bago matapos yung 750 na swim course, nilagpasan pa ako ng mga babae. So, yun tumatak sa akin yung laro na yun. Tapos, sa bike, nag-gabol ako hanggang sa nag-run. Na-finish ko yung karera, pero hindi ako nag-podium. Tapos, doon nag-start. Tinanong agad ako ng coach ko, lalaban ba tayo o hanggang dito na lang? So, doon, na-motivate ako sa nangyari nung event na yun. Sa triathlon race na yun. Kasi, babae, iiwan ka. Tapos, di ba? Doon nagsimula. Hanggang sa nag-training. After a year, doon ako napasok sa developmental team ng Triathlon Association of the Philippines hanggang sa naging part na ako ng national team. And nung mga ilang taon na, may mga races na kami nakikita. Tapos hanggang sa 2015, merong qualifying para sa SEA Games, which na hindi ako nag-qualified. Another motivation na naman yun para sa akin, para sa susunod na SEA Games. So talagang tinitake ko yung mga challenges para maging ginagawa ko siyang motivation. So pag na-challenge ako, mas gusto ko Mas gusto ko siya kasi mas mag-eager ako mag-training, ganun. Kasi isipin mo kung anong mangyayari kung hindi ka magte-training ng maayos, mga ganun. Saka after that, 2015 hindi ako napili. So sumama loob ko, pero naisip ko na anong gagawin ko? Mag-i-stop na lang ba ako dito? Doon na ba hihinto yung pangarap ko? So hindi ako nag-stop. Mas pinagigihan ko pa. After 2 years, 2017 SEA Games, naglaro kami sa Malaysia. Yun yung napili na ako na marepresenta yung Pilipinas with my teammate na si Nico Elgas under the coach of Coach Melvin. Maganda naman yung naging performance namin. Nakuha namin yung gold and silver na target ng Pilipinas. So, we're very happy kasi ang haba ng panahon na pinag-trainingan namin doon. Tapos, siyempre, nakuha na natin yun. After 2 years, ito nga, yung 2019, talagang sa mindset na namin na paghahandaan tayo ng mga ibang country kasi tayo na may hawak ng 2017, 1 and 2. So, gold and silver. Nagdoble kami kasi alam namin pag nakaranga. Tapos doon, tuloy-tuloy naman, nag-training kami sa bagong facility natin sa New Clark City. 3 months po kami nag-training doon bago kami naglaro. So, under the training of Coach Melvin, maganda naman yung resulta. Kahit na malayo kami sa pamilya kasi nung time na yung buntis yung asawa ko noon, talagang sakripisyo talaga. So, step by step lang sabi ko nga sa kanya, matatapos din to. So, ayun, talagang naiwan lang sila sa bahay doon sa Angeles. Training lang kami ng training. Uwi kami, saglit lang, tapos balik na ulit sa camp. Yan yun, medyo mahirap din talaga yung preparation namin nung nakaraang SEA Games. Pero, part na nahirapan kami, iniisip naman namin kung ano magiging outcome, kung ano mangyari. So, talagang positive kami always at yung mga negative na naririnig namin, hindi namin masyadong pinagpapansin. Lalo na nung nakaraan, maraming naging issue dun sa New Clark City. Pero ang masasabi ko, napakaganda ng lugar at nakatulong talaga sa amin. So, forward tayo dun sa SEA Games, nung event na. Maraming naging challenges sa akin during the event. Especially nung sa swimming. Nagkaroon ng konting pukpukan dun sa swim course. Nagkaroon kami ng konting parang banggaan ng mga taga-ibang country. Pero it's a part of the game. Kung pinairal ko yung emotional ko nung nandun ako sa tubig, siguro parang hinto na lang ako. Ganun, nananakit tong kasama ko. Pero yun nga, nag-go with the flow na lang ako sa kanila. Sinabayan ko na lang. Umiiwas na lang ako. Ganun. Hanggang sa pagdating sa bike, nakaka-catch up ako sa teammate ko. Then, we start working together na. Hanggang may nakakasabit pa nga sa aming isa. Tapos, saran na namin sila na iwan. Hanggang sa nakuha natin yung gold and silver. Which is very memorable sa akin. Kasi dito pa naganap sa Subic Bay. Andyan yung mga kababayan ko nanonood. So, pati yung pamilya ko, yung anak ko, syempre, pinapanood niya ako, syempre, lalo kong pag-iigihan para ma-motivate ko siya na mag-sports paglaki niya. Saka yung mga kabataan na taga-Olongapo, taga-SBMA, talaga nanonood sila. At sana nagawa ko para sa bansa, nakatulong ako na ma-motivate sila sa tinatahak nila.
Yeah. So Rambo, isang the inspiration na binibigay mo para sa lahat ng mga kababayan natin sa buong Pilipinas, solid talaga. May tanong lang na gustong i-raise dito. Like in terms of yung sa pagsisimula mo, so saan to nagmula talaga? Ito ba yung habawa ikaw galing sa iyo or dahil sinabihan ka ng tatay mo? So alin doon sa dalawa ang mas nag-push talaga sa iyo?
Ano po yung yung pinursige ako ng tatay ko na mag-cycling. Hanggang sa na-enjoy ko na siya. Tapos doon ako nag-focus na ako. Kasi nung sumasama-sama ako sa mga kaibigan niyang nag-bike, nalaman ko may group ride sila, which very healthy ka na, masaya ka pa. Yung mga ganun. Tapos tingin ko very challenge sa lumakro ko sa mga local races dito sa may mga category yan Hindi naman kagad doon ka sa pinakatalan sa doon mapunta sa parang ladder nga tawag ng coach yan. Step by step lang, paakyat. Ang importante, meron kang goal na dapat alam mo tama yung dinadaanan papunta sa goal mo.
That's correct. So Steve, may runner partner. Steve, you might have some questions kay Rambo. Talagang very inspiring rin naman. I mean, getting a gold in a very tough event is really gives us so much pride, particularly sa lalo na sa buong Pilipinas. Steve?
Clear ba yung narinig yung boses ko?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Actually, take opportunity ko to. Talagang sabi ko, invite ko si Rambo. Pero sabi ko nga, nakikita ko siya usually sa ano na first time kita nakita, idol sa sa Milo, yung last time. Pero sabi ko, ito yun dito last time sa SBMA pa. Ayun. So, sa mga runners, ano yung mga, siguro sa mga nagsisimula, ano yung possible tip mo? Yung iba kasi parang, syempre, paano mo maintain yung motivation mo from, yung iba kasi parang 1 week pa lang, sumusuko na on the second week. Yung sa mga nag-i-start, ano yung, paano ka nag-start ganun? Parang tip mo para ma-motivate pa sila.
Tip ko siguro, syempre, set kayo ng goal, no? Tapos, isipin nyo kung ano makakabuti na gawin para makapunta ka dun sa goal mo na yun. Syempre, kung goal mo manalo sa isang event, halimbawa, yung sa inyo, sa running, kailangan pag-isipan nyo mabuti. Kunyari, magra-run kayo ng malayo. Siyempre, yung training nyo, kailangan may endurance din. Kailangan malayo din. So, para pagdating ng event itself, hindi na kayo maninibago. Pati yung pacing nyo, kailangan na training nyo na. So, lahat yan may training. Hindi naman basta-basta na naisipan nyo maglaro, go na kagad. So, mas maganda pa rin talaga kung makapag-training kayo na maigi at may gabay ng coach. So, number 1 talaga dyan, yung makinig kayo sa coach nyo para may tumutulong sa inyo, mag-motivate sa inyo. Lalo-lalo na din yung pagdating sa long-term plans. So, kasi pag long-term na, bandang gitna, parang tatama rin ka, gano'n. So, kailangan bumalik ka ulit dun sa kung bakit ko ba ginawa to. So, bakit ko ba ginawa to? Yung mga gano'n. Para ma-motivate ka ulit, ma-refresh yung sarili mo kung bakit mo ginagawa to. Tapos, nandun, lalabas ulit yun. Sabihin mo, ay, ginagawa ko nga pala to para mag-champion ako sa isang fun run na gagawin ko.
So, yun nga, as ang ano mo ngayon is, ano yung next goal mo beyond SEA Games? Target mo na mag-Olympic or ano? Much higher?
Bale, step by step yan. After SEA Games ngayon, siyempre, we need to defend the title next year sa Vietnam SEA Games. Tapos, next year after that, yung Asian Games na. Tapos, sa level ng Asian Games, medyo mataas na rin. Kaya target ko at least, top 5. Kasi last Asian Games, nag-top 10 ako. Medyo malakas talaga yung field doon. Yung iba doon, Olympian na. Doon natin makikita yung kaya natin mag-Olympics. Pero yun pa rin yung long-term goal ko na mag-Olympics tayo. Representing siyempre yung Pilipinas.
Yes. Siguro yun nga, ano kayang feeling ng siguro sa isang mga normal na runner, makaabot lang ng finish line, masaya na eh. Sa isang feeling ng isang elite runner, ano yung feeling, parang siguro, paano mo ma-explain yung feeling ng isang elite runner, makaabot ng isang finish line? Parang ahead sa lahat. Ano yung feeling?
Feeling? Sobrang saya. Lalong-lalo na kapag ikaw yung nauuna, syempre. Kasi yun ang mga goal naman ng mga elite. Manalo, ganun. Pero, pag nanalo ka, parang bonus na lang yun. Kasi, sinimulan mo, tinapos mo, yun palang fulfillment na. So, pag nanalo ka, bonus na lang yun, syempre. Tapos, you get together na sa mga kaibigan mo, nadadagdagan yung mga kaibigan mo, nagkakaroon ka ng mga kakilala all the way sa event. So, doon pa lang napakalaking bagay na nung paglalaro.
Got it. Wala na ako masyadong matanong kasi talagang totally discipline talaga ang sa running. Yan, kitang-kita na.
Alam mo, Steve, we never got to hindi ordinaryo na makadaupang palad natin ang isang gold medalist, particularly on this level. So, Rambo, thank you for the sharing and actually we have a lot of questions sa'yo sa open forum. Just stay for a while para we could
Opo.
we could proceed to the next speaker. Thank you.
Okay
Okay,
po.
so
Thank you.
for the next speaker, actually he's a good friend of mine coming all the way from Malaybalay, Bukidnon. So we want to hear his yung motivation story niya on how he traverse being a public school teacher in a in a public school system. So maybe call on Braylle Goles to tell us his story. Go ahead, Braylle.
Uh, we are all in one battle. We fight as
Yes.
one and we heal as one. May gabi sa tanan. My name is Braylle Goles, a science teacher of Kalabugao National High School. Our institution is located at the heart of Kalabugao, a barangay of Suong in the province of Bukidnon. I have been in the arena of teaching for about 5 years. It may difficult at times. However, it pays a lot when you are able to share values, skills, and necessary learnings to your learners. Above all, it's indeed a fulfillment when all these learning sheets are applied and embodied by them accordingly. When I was in my first year in the service, maraming pagkakataon po na nasabi ko na ang hirap pala ang mapalayo sa iyong pamilya. Most especially when you are new to a certain place. Because I had to travel alone for almost 200 kilometers from our municipality going to my station in Kalabugao. I usually traveled every Monday and woke up at exactly 2 o'clock in the morning. So again, it was not so easy in my part because the mentioned trip will take up to 2 hours and 45 minutes before arriving at my first destination at Damay, the place where I proceeded to my next ride. Para sa lahat, it's one of the most challenging parts when journeying sapagkat kakailanganin mong pagdaanan ang lubak-lubak na daan habang ikaw ay nakasakay sa habal-habal. For it is the means of transportation of the place. Ang pagsakay sa naturang uri ng sasakyan ay hindi na bago sa akin. Ngunit, kagaya ng aking nabanggit, ang nagpapahirap ay ang daanan sapagkat sa panahon ng tag-ulan ay nagiging napakaputik nito. At may mga pagkakataon na bumabaha to the extent that it hardens the driver to go on with the trip from Damay to Kalabugao. It's more or less 40 kilometers at ang nangyayari, ako along with my colleagues had to go off sa habal-habal para maglakad ng 1 kilometro at minsan higit pa. Nang sa ganon ay makausad ang nagmamaneho ng motorsiklo. There were times also that I jumped off from the vehicle for the reason that the driver missed his way due to the muddy and slippery roads. And there was a time I got injured in which it caused me to be sent to the clinic to check my bruises and wounds. My family was frightened, so I calmed them down by saying There was no reason to get into a panic. Everything is fine. After a long habal-habal trip, it seemed like there was a transition from being exhausted to a relieving feeling. For you are to be welcomed with sweet smiles and warm greetings from your students who waited for you, and it felt like they were extrinsically motivated to come to school again, to learn something new, like valuable lessons from you. And it turned to be as one of my happy pills, or let me say, it's one of the relievers that gets rid of the hardship I've been through. I got more encouraged to do better in my profession. When I met my co-mentors or my fellow teachers, they have been so nice and accommodating since day one. Competition is nowhere to be found at my workplace because everyone helped one another. Along with the guidance of our very active and ever supportive school head, Mr. Charles T. Castro. Nonetheless, another challenge encountered by all of us was the inaccessibility to telecommunication and internet. Hanggang ngayon kasi, wala pa po kaming signal sa aming paaralan o sa entire Kalabugao proper. So what we were doing to access such, we travel to a distant sitio to be able to access the signal para makatawag o makapagpadala kami ng text messages, most especially during emergency. Kagaya ko, at mahal na buhay, hindi ko maalis sa aking pag-iisip ng mabahala at mangulila sa kanila. Constantly, I wrote an article as a tribute to my mother. It was entitled Perfect Time to Say It. And it has been published by the Philippine Daily Enquirer last 2018. So my hello to my mother, Lorna Goles. And when it comes to the preparation of instructional materials, kapag umuwi po ko sa amin, I made use of the time to download from the internet the necessary or supplemental materials para mas maliwanagan at mabigyan ng malapit na pagkakaintindi ang mga kabataan sa kahit anong leksyon o asignatura na tinuturo sa kanila. Pero, I always bear in my mind that as teachers, we are far better, or let me say we are more effective instructional tools than anything else. Furthermore, the learning equipment provided by the Department of Education helped both the learners and the teachers a lot in achieving ideal goals. And the trials encountered during teaching and learning process allowed me to grow and improve as a facilitator. However, nowadays, we are all facing a crisis in which we are still uncertain to when it will come to an end. And I, for one, was having a hard time at first. And how will I cope with the changes brought to us by this pandemic? Mahirap siya. We could not take away the consideration though, as teachers, or shall I say as public servants, we must be catalysts of change in good ways. That idea that we have to be receptive to change. Sama ni ini karon sa kasamtangan nga panahon, gipaabot nato ang ginatawag nga new normal. Diin daghan gyud ang mabag-uhan niini o marami ang maninibago. Hinggil dito, isa sa makakatulong na pamamaraan para unti-unti kung mas matanggap ang pagbabago ay ang pagpapanatili sa sarili, ang tinatawag na positive mental attitude. It's one thing that keeps me going, especially during these hard times. And also, we have to follow the rules set before us, like the required health standards para mas mapaigting pa natin ang pag-iingat na maiwasan na madapuan ng sakit na dulot ng pandemya. Let us more be cooperative to our government, because I believe their efforts are nothing without our cooperation. I always I always inculcate in my mind and my heart that amid the rain, there will always be the sun that brings hope. Let's not cease to hope. Yet, let us keep the faith burning. For no man travels alone in this world. No man lives alone. We shall overcome all these things. It might not, let me say, it might not be so visible at this time. Nevertheless, sooner or later, we will face a better world. Everything is set to happen for a valuable purpose. Always find ways to look into the positive sides of life. And lastly po, do not ever forget to pray, because our faith to the Almighty can move mountains. Dagan kayong salamat sa pagpaminaw. Maraming salamat po. Sir Ben?
Daghang salamat, Braylle, for the sharing. I think one common question na raise, particularly some texted the question is, where did this passion of teaching, kailan nagsimula tong yung passion na gusto mong maging teacher?
First and foremost, sir, never in my wildest dreams po na magiging isang guro po ako one of these days, or at this very moment. Kasi before, inisip ko talaga na one of the ultimate purposes I had for is to graduate from college. Pero it so happened, this fate brought me here, and I come to realize na it really pays na maging isang teacher. It is not because we are paid much, but because the sense na you can help others, you can inspire others, most especially your clienteles who are your learners. And I believe this kind of profession, Sir Ben, is not merely a profession, but indeed it is a vocation. Yun po. Sir, hindi ko po marinig yung audio, sir. Yes po.
Braylle, when you get to yung nakuha mo yung assignment sa Kalabugao, so basically wala ka pang idea. So ano yung unang na-feel mo? Kasi we saw it sa video kanina na talagang and sa mga kwento mo din na talagang hindi ganoon kadali papunta dun sa school. So ano yung naging first impression mo at paano mo paano mo naitawid yung ikalawang araw na sige, I'll go to school? Ano yung kwento mo doon?
Okay, sir. During that time, sir, I was not expecting talaga na the DepEd or the Department of Education, especially sa Division of Bukidnon, will be calling me about my appointment in Kalabugao. Because during that time, I rendered a service as an ALS teacher to a certain district po dito sa Bukidnon. And then somebody was telling me na ma-assign daw po ako sa Kalabugao, one of the districts, or shall I say, yes, one of the districts po sa Impasugong Bukidnon. And then the first thing that came into my mind po, wow, salamat Lord, at last magtatrabaho na gid ko. And I never think, or let me say, hindi ko inisip na about the place, because my ultimate dreams during that time, one of my ultimate dreams during that time was to actually to have a stable job, or let me say to practice what is my profession. So yun po. Though natanong ko sa kanya, ma'am, where is particularly Kalabugao? Oh, kasi hindi wala po akong idea sa lugar na 'yan. So what she said to me, sabi niya, it is actually one of the barangays po ng Ipasugong. So yun po, the second day in my service at Kalabugao was not that very new para sa akin. Kasi you are to embrace the culture. Pero absolutely, I could say Kalabugao has one of the richest cultures na masasabi natin na being a Higaunon, yung mga tao doon po kasi ay mga Higaunon. Proud po sila. And I for one, I am proud to become one of the mentors of the Higaunon students for their, not just for their culture, sir, but for their the way they deal with us na parang we are part of the community. Yun po, sir.
So, thank you for that, Braylle. So, talagang very inspiring na ang pagtuturo hindi lang talaga hindi lang tama yung sinabi mo. It's not just a job, but it's really a vocation, particularly dun sa pinagdadaanan mo kasi hindi lahat na hindi lahat na guro na nabigyan ng oportunidad na makapagturo ay ay mabibigyan din ng isang challenge, particularly yung daan papunta sa school, yung wala kang internet. Pero ang magandang ehemplo na naipakita mo is talagang you stand above these limitations, and at the same time really created inspiration for everyone. So Braylle, stay put. We'll have an open forum for a while. So now, ladies and gentlemen, we now proceed to another good speaker, a good friend of mine coming from Naga City, to discuss his journey on his mission when he was assigned at one point in his life. May I call on PJ Legaspi to share his journey. Take it away, PJ.
Good evening po, Kuya Ben.
Good
Is
evening.
my audio, narinig naman po yung audio?
Yes, PJ, it's clear.
Perfect. Sige. So, good evening everyone. Good evening din sa lahat ng participating dito sa ating Raise the Flag event. And I'm so grateful for this opportunity to share my experience with you. So, before I begin, I would like to introduce myself. I'm Legaspi from Naga City, Bicol Region, sabi nga kanina ni Kuya Ben. Currently, I'm working at the local government unit of Naga City as an investment marketing officer. So we promote Naga City for investments. I'm also been an active youth leader in college, in church, and so many things in life. But I'm really grateful that I was given this opportunity to share my experience from serving a full-time church mission. So, sorry, makikita nyo lang muna sa screen ay yung aking desktop dahil may problema yung aking web camera. So, I'd like to share this talk and by entitling it "Keeping the Light Shine." So I'm going to be sharing my church mission experience in a foreign land. So I would like to start with this quote that I really love. It is attributed to either Abraham Lincoln or to Winston Churchill. It says here that success is growing from failure to failure without losing enthusiasm. So I really love how this quote identifies that failure is part of success. So you'll never reach success without failure. But what makes difference between failure and success is that you not losing your enthusiasm. And I think that goes along with motivation. So all of us have different callings or different roles in this life, and all of us need motivation. It's something that keeps us awake every day. That gets helps us to get up from our beds and to be great each day. So what I will be sharing is my mission experience. For the information of everyone, I am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. A lot of people known us for a religion called the Mormons, but our real name is actually the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and people called us Mormons because of the book, another scripture that we have, which is called the Book of Mormon, which is another witness, another testament of Jesus Christ. So what am I talking about this missionary program? Probably you've seen in the streets, especially sa Philippines, no, they're everywhere. Probably you've seen a foreigner, an American, with a companion, a Filipino companion who is wearing a white shirt and tie with their name tags on. And what is fascinating to know is that these missionaries, these two people dressed in white clothes, can speak very fluent in Tagalog, in Cebuano, in Bisaya, you name it. So, um, being a member of the church, I also took that calling to serve for the church for a period of 24 months. No? So, for the information of everyone, this is a proselyting and volunteering program. For girls, it's 18 months. For guys, it's 24 months. So basically what we do is kind of similar to what the apostles uh, of the Church of Jesus Christ did back then, no, preach the gospel, no, go to different locations, no, and to share the gospel anywhere in the world. So the fascinating thing about this is we don't get to choose where we serve. It's actually the apostles of our church or our senior leaders who assigns us to wherever we go. And you need to prepare spiritually, physically, socially, and financially. So you have to prepare a lot to become this missionary that you want to become. So um, we get our call. First, we apply. We do a lot of medical examinations, dental examinations, a lot of interviews to see how prepared we are to serve a full-time mission. And after your application, you will receive a mission call. So it's a letter from the senior leaders of the church telling you that you have been accepted to be a missionary and that it will tell you where you get to serve. So for my case, I was assigned to serve in the Colorado Springs mission. That's in the southeast part of Colorado in United States. And it took me a while to get my visa. So while waiting, I actually went to the Philippines Missionary Training Center. So imagine the training that we had only lasted for 12 days. So at the end of the 12 days, that's it. We're good to go. So one of the cool things about this is when we get to serve our mission, we forget our first name. We get to be called by our last name. So this is our name tag. You'll see that we get the title elder for being a missionary, and I use my last name, which is Legaspi. And another thing that you see on that name tag is the name of Jesus Christ, and that's who we represent from our missions. Um, I get to be trained with other missionaries same time as I do. What we basically do is to share the gospel uh, to everyone that we meet. Do a lot of service to people. We get to do service projects to help to create service projects to anyone that who needs our help. We get to do a lot of fun things. We do peer trainings. No, I did this. I shared the Pinoy Henyo uh, game to our district, to our group in Colorado, and we get to do a lot of fun things. No, go on parades, serve, and do a lot of remarkable things during in the mission. So I would like to my talk would be I would be sharing three important experiences on my mission. It summarizes in this verse from the New Testament, from Matthew chapter 5 verse 16. It says here that let your lights so shine before men that they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So I firmly believe that all of us have our light to shine. We have our lights that could inspire other people, whether it be through service or being passionate in everything that we do. I am inspired with my fellow speakers tonight. They're all inspiring. They have their own lights, and I'm grateful that they were able to share that light as well. So, um, my first story is the very first time I've been to United States. So that is my very first travel in my whole life. No, I was 20 years old, so it's my first time in 20 years to go outside the Philippines, and it was 2 days before Christmas. As soon as I got my visa approved, I was immediately shipped to Colorado, and this is the first photo that I took. On my official day one there in Colorado. I still look really jet lagged and tired. But um, I was alone. No, I didn't know anyone there. It was I'm gonna be with this guy for the next 3 months, and we will be living in the same apartment. We will be going to share the gospel to everyone. So this very first time being in a foreign land scares me. Um, Before then I thought I would be able to ace it. I was really good in college, so I think I would be able to speak English well. But that wasn't the case. I didn't know the culture. I didn't know how these people think. I don't know what they're talking about. There will be times that we will be visiting places, we will be talking to people, and I cannot barely say anything. Um, the, the, the cold winter, at the same time the nervousness of just speaking really scares me. That knocking on doors is a really terrifying thing. To introduce myself and to share what I know. So I was really depressed. I was really disappointed at that point. There were times that I wish that I'll just disappear at that moment. As missionaries, we were commissioned to speak, to get to know as much a lot of people as much as we can. But I'm not fulfilling my purpose. And I talked to my our leader, our mission president, how hard the mission was for me. I said I was not having a good time. I think this is really challenging for me. And the lesson that he shared to me was this. He said, "Be patient with yourself. It will take time. Just enjoy the process." And um, at some point, I thought I was pushing too hard. I was trying my hard to just to be able to get back to the system, but I realized that I need time. I need to be patient. I need to know what my limits are. So I started learning to be patient. Every day, I try to remind myself when studying with this quote: "Patience is a Christ-like virtue." And patient is not just being patient to other people, but to yourself. To know that you cannot do a lot of things at the same time. And as I did that, I eventually developed that love for the people that I get to serve. No matter uh, what nationality they are, no matter if I have just met them for the first time or in a few days, I just try to forget myself, to forget my insecurities and focus more on them. And it comes to a point that if I didn't know what their culture is, I ask about it, and I also share my experience, like teaching them how to cook lumpia, um, and just be friends with anyone. So and my first learning from this story is when we kindle that light, like when we start kindling that light to illuminate paths, takes time and effort. Be patient with yourself, forget yourself, and go to work. So this is the first learning about motivation. When you're starting on something, when you're trying to venture on something that you haven't done before, be patient. It will take time. Enjoy the process. And I realized that we have to forget ourselves actually. We have to forget our weaknesses, our insecurities, and focus more towards other people, towards our passion. Because when we do that, we try to forget those fears inside us, and it start to work, and it start to work well for us, and we enjoy the process. So after being able to be comfortable with that experience, I was assigned to be a zone leader of our group, of these missionaries. Now imagine a Filipino. I was the only Filipino in the entire mission, and I was called to be a leader for this 20 missionaries, foreign missionaries. A lot of them are Americans. So the expectations were high. So they're expecting us to do a lot of things. So when you get starting, you will see a lot of challenges one after another. It comes to a point that um, it gets really tiring sometimes. Just like what our earlier speakers have mentioned, no, it's like running. No, when you're in the middle of the race, it gets really tired and redundant, and you don't really understand what is happening anymore. So the mission in Colorado Springs is a little bit different than here in the Philippines. People there are not as welcoming as Filipino peoples are. You'll get a lot of rejections. You'll get a lot um, of of cusses and a lot of these things. So it gets really depressing sometimes. But one thing that I've learned from this experience is sustaining the brightness of that light can be exhausting and overwhelming. Remember why you are doing it in the first place. Recognize small wins and know that there are things beyond our control. So when you're in the middle of that race, when things starts to get overwhelming or exhausting, when you're in the middle and you don't know why you're shining that light anymore, you don't know what's the purpose. Always go back to your why. Sabi nga din kanina, 'di ba? Alamin mo kung bakit ka nagsimula, bakit mo to ginawa in the first place. And in order for you to not get tired, recognize small wins, no? Hindi naman ibig sabihin na ito yung goal mo, hindi ka na pwede mag-celebrate at an early stage. Recognize those small baby steps, no? Celebrate that and go from one step to the another. And know that there are things beyond your control, no? Always remember that. Um, hindi lahat ng bagay hawak natin, no? We can only do so much. Sabi nga dito sa isang scripture, sa Doctrine and Covenants section 123 verse 17, sabi niya, let us cheerfully do all things that lie in our power, and then may we stand still with the utmost assurance to see the salvation of God. So let's cheerfully do things in our own power. So my mission experience has been really great. I've met a lot of people. I've I've get to interact with them and to know their stories. Even if I am a Filipino coming from an entirely different foreign land, I get to love their culture. I get to love their thinking. And I realized that no matter where we are in the world, we are the same. We have that same spirit that connects us all together. These culture, this race, this nationality are just labels, but we are all the same underneath. My last story is is something that I'd like to share to tell you how important understanding where that light, the very source of light, comes from. So this is Tom Kester. He's one of those people that we have taught, and this is his sister, Lori. So Lori is a longtime member of our church, of the Church of Jesus Christ, and she's been the only member in her family. And Tom is an entirely different guy. He never believes in a God. He never understands or where God comes from or if he really exists. He believes that you can just be a good person and that's it. But meeting him was really tough. I thought we will not be able to make it to share the gospel to him and to help him get closer to Jesus Christ. But we did through the help of God. And I'd like to share these some clips from the letter that he sent to me. So after we taught him, I was assigned to a different place before I even see him get baptized for the church. Now this is his letter, one of the few message of his letter. Um, he said, "I know God has always been there watching over me, but it was that day that the light finally pierced into my heart. This light was beaming from an individual, you, as he shared his story and his passion could not be hidden. Some mysterious power was pressing against my heart, telling me that it was the time to learn, and these were the people to start learning from." He said, "The elders told me a story about how the missionaries are placed. They explained that each missionary is placed by revelation. During the conversation, I became to realize that the feeling I had sitting at her sister's house while you were sharing your story was no accident but a plan. The Lord sent you from approximately 8,000 miles away." He computed how far the Philippines is from United States. "He taught you another language, made you learn to ride a bike, and made sure you had the strength to eat the strange foods that members feed you. Also, you could come over here and touch the hearts of people like me." So I'm not sharing this to boast of my missionary experience, but I'm sharing this to understand that there is always a bigger picture. Sometimes we feel that what we're doing is just another routine task. It's something that we just do another day. But when we look back, we will see that everything is connected. So my final key takeaway is to find the very source of that light. Take time to look back and reflect. So when you're doing something, in order for you to sustain your motivation, always try to look back and to reflect. What have you accomplished so far? Whose lives have you touched so far? Even even just touching your own life already means a lot. You don't have to touch other people's life. You can start from your own and see the bigger picture and be inspired of your calling. No matter who you are, God has a special plan just for you. I know that. I testify that all of us are interconnected. Who would have thought I would meet Tom on the other side of the world and 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 help him to know who Jesus Christ is, to help him know that there is a God, that someone is watching over him, that someone loves him. And I was prepared from the very time that I was born that I have to learn to ride a bike, to eat strange food, and to overcome all my personal weaknesses just to be there. So I know that you have another person to touch, and so you have to keep that motivation coming. I know that it's really hard sometimes when we get blocked by a big challenge or a big rock per se or a big shade, but always remember that you have that light. If you find the very source of that light, you will never go wrong. Always go back to your why and always appreciate the small things that you're enjoying. Thank you for this opportunity again, and God bless. Go back to you, Kuya Ben.
Yeah. Um, thank you for that. Thank you for that, PJ. It's like I I'm lost of words, and I believe that ano to. I believe that the words of wisdom that you have mentioned is very relevant, particularly these times that people are already losing hope. Parang wala ng pag-asa, naghihirap. And um in this ano to, in this reality that we're experiencing right now, and ano to, people are saying that Filipinos are truly resilient. The one that you mentioned about looking for the light. So like how can we share and ano to make an ordinary Filipino see his own light, that he has something to share, that he has something to ano rin, that he has a spirit to share. So how could you ano to? How could we contextualize it on a local setup? Especially itong nangyayari sa atin ngayon na meron tayong pandemic na nagaganap sa buhay natin.
Yeah, thank you, Kuya Ben, for that. I think that is really inspiring question. Yan, ang liwanag ng mukha ko. Anyway, totoo kasi a lot of Filipinos would think very small. No? Parang ako lang to, nandito lang ako sa small space ko, and probably I'm not making a difference right now, especially na napakalaki ng problema ang kinakaharap natin. It's something that we don't see, yet it is there. No, it's affecting so many lives. Pero kagaya nga nung sinabi ko kanina, you have to start somewhere. No, even if it's really small, even even if the only person you have to inspire is yourself. Kahit doon ka muna magsimula. No? Try to understand ano ba yung mga kailangan mong i-improve sa sarili mo. Go from there. And ano ba yung magiging motivation mo to do that, to think about what the things you need to improve, is to always know your purpose. No? Bakit ka ba nabubuhay? Alam ko ang Filipinos very, very big when it comes to families. No? Pwedeng nabubuhay ka para sa pamilya mo. You have that family to support you. Kahit hindi nila sabihin, I know that a lot of these Filipino people are making that impact in their families, no? Na magpursige lang. Yun yung maganda sa atin kasi we are the people in the world that had a lot of experiences when it comes to challenges, no? Mapabagyo man, mapakalamidad, no? Subok na tayo dyan. And I think that is something that we can take in our advantage, no? Kahit isa kang tao na nasa isang maliit na barangay, I know you are making a difference by making the right choice. So, yun lang. Just following rules could really mean so much. That could be a great impact already.
Yeah, I think PJ was very important. What you have mentioned is really to focus on yourself.
Yes,
because you cannot actually be sharing anything at all to others if yourself is actually not in a good state. And tama din yung sinabi mo. I think what's really lacking us, I think for all the Filipinos right now in this COVID-19 pandemic, is something na simulan muna nating bigyang inspirasyon yung sarili natin.
Eksakto po.
Para mas lalo tayo maging maliwanag sa pag-share ng liwanag na yun sa iba. Kasi ang nangyari sa atin is parang the moment that we actually lose hope of ourselves, that's actually actually it's an end game already. What can you share to others? Wala ka ng pag-asa sa sarili mo.
Exacto.
So, yeah. So I think this is really very important right now na I think it also goes with the mindset that we have na talagang importante na isipin parang it's not that you don't want to share, pero mas importante ayusin mo muna yung ilaw sa sarili mo para kung ayos yun, you could share to more, di ba?
Exacto po.
Pero PJ, in your experience, di ba like parang of course, when you spread the word and you get rejections. So like what mention of Rambo, of the Fritzie, na I mean like was there a point na parang you said ayoko, parang hindi talaga to sa akin, or nag-give up, konting-konti na lang nag-give up ka na?
Opo, nangyari po yan. Many times, no? Kasi bilang isang missionary, no, bilang isang proselyting missionary, you have that whole 2 years focus on doing that, on sharing the gospel. And pinaka-disappointing bilang isang missionary po, Kuya Ben, is yung meron kang isang araw na tinry mo yung best mo na kumatok ng mga pintuan, makiusap sa mga tao at walang nakikinig sa'yo. And that's end for your day. Yung parang yung energy ng rejection na absorb mo siya, no? So sobrang masakit talaga nun, and dumating sa point na I was leading that area, and dumating sa point na hindi ko na alam yung gagawin ko. I sat there on a dead end road with my companion in our car. Sabi ko, hindi ko na alam kung saan tayo pupunta. And I prayed. Sabi ko, hindi ko na po alam yung gagawin ko. And I realized that what we're doing is not for myself, no. It's not for my companion. It's not for the church or for the things I'm fighting for. This is also a fight with God, no. Work din to ni Heavenly Father. So na feel ko nung time na yung nagpray ako na hindi ako mag-isa. Na that's already enough for me to know na ito palang pagsubok na pinagdadaanan ko, hindi lang ako yung nagdadala. Kasi sa mga ganun pong experiences, minsan ang bigat niyang dalhin. Yun yung parang nakaka-trigger ng pag-give up natin. But always remember that we are not alone. That someone is on our side, someone is rooting for us, even that's it's someone that we cannot see on ourselves. And yun po yung talagang naka-alalay sa akin na kahit very low na ako, talagang binuhat ako hanggang matapos ko yung 2 years nation na masaya.
Okay, so thank you for that, PJ. And I think that's this is actually the signal that we are actually opening the our speakers to to questions coming from our viewers. So if you have any questions at all, please feel free to chat or text para we could actually ask our speakers. So there's a first question dito going to Fritzie. Fritz, in terms of parang moods, kasi syempre you're motivated to run. Was there a point na parang biglang sinabi mo ayoko, parang hindi ko siya feel for the day. So paano mo siya na-overcome na parang hindi, kailangan tuloy ko pa rin?
Sa experience ko kasi,
yes.
Sir Benedict, may mga times na naging ganoon kasi if like for example tatakbo ako ng 42K and then may mga times talaga na parang sa kalagitnaan ng race gusto ko nang tapusin at gusto ko nang tumigil, pero nasa mindset po kasi talaga ng tao or sa aming mga runners na kailangan talaga tapusin kahit na pagod ka na, masakit na yung mga paa mo, even though ako kasi barefoot ako, tumatakbo ako, sobrang sakit na at ma-feel ko talaga na gusto ko nang tumigil. There's a time na talagang i-focus ko na lang talaga na malapit na. Yun yung goal ko kasi talaga, na tapusin talaga. At for almost 200 races na involved ako sa mga races sa running community, and even though triathlon and duathlon, wala naman ako so far na hindi ko talaga natapos. Sobrang in-encourage ko yung sarili ko na once na talagang mag-try ako sa isang event or sumali ako, kailangan kong tapusin. Kasi mayroon ngang goal ako sa buhay na from start, kailangan may finish. So, yun.
Okay, thank you for that, Fritz. So, our next question goes to Sol. Sol, there's a text here about parang between people are getting hungry. So, I mean, syempre, with these times that we don't have, the economy is not yet really fully recovered. So, how do we tell this, our fellow men, na parang it will be okay if their stomachs are actually, they're not sustained, particularly, the very basic needs. So, how do we balance it, Sol, for them to be ensured na at the end of the day, they would still wake up in the morning with a positive light?
Actually, wala tayong karapatan na magsabing it's going to be okay, no? Parang to me, at this time of the pandemic, ang labanan is really basic needs.
Yes.
So when people when people's basic needs are not met, all of these other needs in being motivated, having positivity, it trumps all of that. Walang shortcut to really satisfying people's basic needs. So when we meet people who are really in a worse situation than us, I think and especially if they're really expressing na their basic needs are really nowhere to be fulfilled at this time kasi hirap talaga. I think ang pinaka to me practical na gawin is to listen and to ask questions as to saan ba sila pwedeng makakuha ng tulong na kailangan nila. I would say by default sa barangay, di ba? Pero even barangays are not able to fulfill already basic needs, no? Nung namimigay pa lang ng amelioration, marami na talagang questions as to even the process of distributing. So first and foremost talaga, basic needs should be met. So there is no amount of comfort na mabibigay natin kung ang basic needs are not met. But also when faced with people na siguro I leave the basic needs no kasi talagang wala tayong shortcut dyan. But if we also look at people na they're okay naman, but in terms of really siguro being headstrong ngayon, they're not doing well. What I learned in mental health is really to let them describe their situation, allow them to label what they are feeling, how is it manifesting, let them live. If they're saying they're depressed, paano mo nasabi na depressed ka? Paano mo nasasabi na you are sad? If there are manifestations like hindi makatulog, tanungin sila ano ba yung nangyari before, after, ano bang naiisip nila, and all of these questions will help them with their thought process kasi 'di ba ang other battlefield here is really our brains, our minds, and if our minds are also stuck in the negative, talagang mahirap din to go towards positive and to take action. So I guess being there for them and where we cannot give also food, 'di ba? Or tayo din hirap, is just to show that we are there to listen, we are there to point them perhaps to people who can better help them. And admit then to ourselves no na sorry hindi talaga kita matutulungan at this time, baka pwede or try out these other options. Parang providing alternatives. And not to be burdened then siguro na to help all those who come for help to you. Kasi ano din, it has its toll on you, di ba? Mahirap din to be in a position to say no. Oo. So, tatagan lang din yung loob na hindi lahat kayang tulungan at this time.
Correct. Thank you for that, Sol. And I think ano talaga, tama. We cannot be the messiah of everyone. And I think ano to, parang I would agree basically on the basic things that we could do. Listen. And if in case if you could help, then we share. But if you can't, we could actually refer it to someone who could actually give them a more better better option. Okay, thank you for that, Sol. Next question is Rambo. Yeah. Rambo, the question is, ano raw, parang when you reach the top, would you really, would you aim for more or you stay there? So how do you maintain that stability and that sustainability na na you always be above your performance?
Opo. Yan. Isang malaking challenge din po sa aming mga atleta yung ganyan. Yung pag-maintain ko na dumarating na malalakas dyan. Mas lumalakas sila, ganun. So, it's a big challenge para sa amin na ma-maintain. Para ma-maintain namin yun, siyempre, nagtitraining kami. Para naman nagtatapos yung pangarap namin eh. Kunyari na, halimbawa, yung nakuha ko po yung SEA Games gold medal. What's next? Next po nun, siyempre, nakuha mo na yung, parang halimbawa, nakakat ka na sa first floor, doon naman tayo sa second floor. So, baka hagdan din, bakit, pataas yan. So, ayun, tuloy lang kami sa training. Kahit nagkakaroon tayo ng buong mundo, ginagawa namin ng paraan. Halimbawa sa bahay, nakapag-exercise kami indoor, gumagawa kami ng paraan para yung fitness level namin hindi ganun bumaba. Yun. Laging dasal lang para tulungan tayo ng Panginoon.
Okay, so thank you for that, Rambo. So, next question comes from Mindanao and addressed to Braylle. Braylle, in terms of your yung journey sa school. So, what will make you stop? What will make you stop? Will you stop or will you continue? Or really come what may with all the challenges para ituloy yung laban? Ano yung thoughts mo about this one?
Based po sa experience ko po, Sir Ben, So I have said a while ago or earlier na
Hello, Braylle. Okay, I think nakamute pa si Braylle. Balikan na lang natin for the meantime. So, PJ, there's a question dito. Can you give us ways to better improve our connection with God and and to use faith despite the breakdown because of this pandemic? So, what can you say about it?
Thank
Go
you po.
ahead, PJ.
Thank you. Siguro para sa akin, the connection with beginning that connection with God starts from developing that faith. To know faith is something na you believe kahit hindi mo siya nakikita. And in order to receive that faith is to start with a question, no? Start with a question to think, is there really a God? To know kung nandyan ba talaga siya, if he really exists, if he is really there, mindful of you, who is aware of your needs, and search for him, no? Kilalanin mo siya. Do your best to make your research, no? Para kilalanin mo siya. Parang it's like trying to meet a new person that you've never met before and build that relationship. And how do you build that? It takes time. You have to spend time and a lot of effort to get to know God. And and another second question is, I think it's really helpful to know na you're not alone, no, and that God is there with you, especially in this time of pandemic. Na a lot, it's not only about the health that we look up to, but it's about the fears that we have. It's about the challenges na we're seeing the future. Actually, hindi ko makita kung ano yung future natin ngayon. But the only thing that we have is faith. No? Having this pandemic, it's like walking in darkness. No, we are clueless. We don't know what's going to happen next. So having God is actually bringing that light with you. That it's trusting Him that everything's going to be okay, and I know it will. I have that faith that it will be okay eventually. Thank you.
Okay, so thank you for that, PJ. It's really that light should really be really burning for us to share it with others.
Yes.
So, Braylle, are you there? Hello, Braylle.
yes, sir.
Yeah, going to the question ulit.
Okay.
So, what can you say about it?
First and foremost, for me, sa kasi so when it comes to the question, it's difficult at times. However, it is a lot when you're able to share the values, skills, necessary learnings to your learners. So sa akin,
Okay, I think we are having some technical difficulties, but I mean, getting to the message of Braylle kanina is really it's not a job, but really a vocation. So we salute you for that, and to all the teachers of Kalabugao National High School, saludo po ang buong Pilipinas sa effort na ginagawa nyo, and patuloy po natin na bigyan liwanag ang mga estudyante ng Bukidnon. And you're really doing a very good job for for the Philippines. So we come to a point that we will be closing this program, and our super thanks to all of our great speakers, to Sol, to Fritzie, to Rambo, to Braylle, and to PJ for sharing to us the lessons, the insights that I think this cannot be this cannot be bought in the stores, cannot be paid, but the inspiration that we share for others, very, very important. And especially in these times that parang we're going rock bottom, and we need these little stories, these little pull-ups will actually give us so much inspiration to move on and actually take part and add up to whatever we're doing right now in our lives. So thank you very much to our dear speakers. And until next time, we greatly appreciate your presence. And before we end, we would like to promote our next series of events that we will be having. Steve, can you post it? This is actually our Leads webinar series that we will be talking about leadership, entrepreneurship, advocacy, digital platform, and serving the public. So we expect another set of speakers to actually join us in this platform on